Okay, so let's just put it in this instance. Okay, so there was no women's voting, right? So
Okay.
back in the 1800s, before slaves were freed, they were only allowed to have one white male allowed to vote per property. That's how
Okay.
it was in the
I
South.
know that, yes.
So when they abolished slavery, they had to come up with a voting system.
But but you just said that we both just agreed that that was occurring during slavery as well. Meaning that before they abolished slavery, that was also a law. That to vote you had to own land or a home. I don't see the correlation up until they started the grandfathering and the Jim Crow laws. That's a whole different thing. But if we're talking about land and homeowner voting, that occurred before they abolished slavery. A while before they abolished slavery. So I don't think it was based entirely around not letting their slaves vote who were just quote unquote freed, which let's also remember that most of these slaves were not only illiterate, but, you know, completely uneducated and also stayed on the slave farms. The rare slaves that got educated were almost entirely killed off, or the lucky few who ran to the north got really lucky and barely made something of themselves, which is the true fact. Which is a true fact. And that's not racist, that's just being a fucking realist. But most of these slaves, and as a history major, you'll know, stayed on the slave farms that they were quote unquote freed from to work because they had nowhere else to go.
I know.
Yeah, and they were
I,
treated,
I
most of
really
them
wasn't
were
a history
treated
buff.
fine. I'm not giving you a history. Dude, why do you have to be so fucking angsty? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, we talked about this with fucking Sutton and all them. Like, for whatever reason, you have this big problem with me when I try to start a basic discussion. It's
All
ridiculous,
right.
dude. No, it is.
I'm not doing anything.
It is. Even Kirby just now Steam messaged me saying, like, what the fuck?
All right, dude. Where does she go?
I'm trying to be friendly
User
with you.
disconnected from your
Like,
channel.
what the fuck? This fucking retarded cock, man. It's so annoying. I'm having a basic fucking discussion and he needs to start fucking crying about this shit. Ridiculous. Remington. Remington. Fucking baby. Jesus Christ. Remington. Yo, Kirby, are you back?
Yeah, what's up?
You know that fucking crybaby left?
Yeah, I know. He always leaves when everybody argues with him.
No. Did you hear what was actually said?
No, I had to leave.
We were talking about it, right? And we were just having a civil discussion like you heard, right?
Yeah.
And then he starts bringing up slavery. And I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with... I didn't say it like I just said, like, what does that have to do with anything? And he goes, that law was made for... because, you know, slavery. And I'm just like, no, that law was in effect, like, when slaves were around.
He said he was a major, too.
Yeah, too. Yeah, exactly. And I go, that law was in effect when slaves were still a thing. And he goes, no, it was just made for when slaves were abolished. And then I said, no, that law was in effect before slavery was abolished. It had nothing to do with slaves. And even so, most slaves were illiterate and uneducated to the point where they literally stayed on the farms, you know, where they, what's it called? It's ridiculous. Remington, are you here?
Yeah, what's up?
Do you want to listen to what just happened with Sam?
What happened?
I'm gonna link you the video. I'm gonna upload it in a second. Give me a second.
Alright.
It's fucking ridiculous, dude. Did you hear what happened with Sutton and Jack the other day?
Yeah, it happened. No,
I
it
haven't
was
been
Sutton.
paying
Sutton
attention
almost
to
quit
Dude!
yesterday 'cause everybody kept.
No. I'm talking about something with Remington.
I can't handle.
No. It got so bad. Listen, Remington. It got so fucking bad, dude. Sutton started crying.
Shay Dog told me that Sutton was getting all salty, and he was like, yeah. Shay Dog told me that he was like super upset.
Yeah. Listen. So Sutton was fucking crying so hard, right? And Sam was white knighting for him. And I guess that in the background they were talking about the whole situation. And out of nowhere, like legitimately out of nowhere, like the entire day we were fine, we were just talking, we were having fun. This was the day after the Prime fight, right? Which you heard that I was getting upset at people and I was telling people to shut up and things like that because we're fighting fucking Prime, right? After that day, Sutton, like, just something happened, and he started fucking crying more than ever. And it comes down to the point where I literally log into TeamSpeak, I'm pulled out into another room with Shaydog, Sutton, and Jack, and literally Jack and Sutton just start yelling at me about how I'm an asshole, how I don't do anything other than yell at people. And I literally just say, well, one, this gang wouldn't be what it is right now without me. Two, all you do is cry about gear and whine about everything and everyone complains about you. And three, Jack, you don't even play this game with us. Where are you coming from? And it's literally just like 20 minutes of them yelling and crying at me, right? And then the point is brought up that apparently people started to have problems with me in the gang. And I said, alright, well, you know, give me an example of who other than you, right? And he goes, Sam! And I go, well, I mean, I already addressed the problem with Sam and everyone knows about it, you know, next. And then he says no one else. And then he tries to lie and say Hyper. Hyper, who's in the fucking chat at the time, right? Says, what the fuck are you talking about? I never said anything. I'm like the biggest fucking, like, person who wants him to continue doing what he is because I don't give a shit. And I'm just like, you're just so touchy fucking feely, Sutton. You're being a crybaby over everything. And I just ended the conversation there. And then I find out that Jack tried to find my Facebook. And that Sutton and him were trying to talk shit about how I don't work out, apparently. And I just literally go back into the room. I pull Sutton into a separate room. I tell him, listen, if you stop being a crybaby, I'll stop being so mean to you. But that's the only reason why I'm quote-unquote mean to you. He says, okay, I'll try to work on myself. And then what does he do the next day? He whines, doesn't buy kits, and cries about everything. And what Kirby just said, everyone had to tell him to go buy a kit. But anyway, and then I threatened Jack saying that if he keeps looking for me, that, you know, something's going to happen. And I later apologized saying, you know, I didn't mean to threaten you, just don't look for me because I'll get upset at you. But anyway, back to what just happened. Let me save this video because that shit was ridiculous. Like,